I have a lot of really cool friends who do a lot of really cool things. I wanted to make it a goal to sit down with these friends and spend about 15 minutes or so getting to know them better and find out about their past, present, and their future. The result is this show. My name is Grant Baciocco, and this is 15 Minutes With. Molly Fite is an actress, a comedian, an improviser, a writer, and a brand new puppeteer. Molly Fite, thank you for coming on the show. Welcome.
Oh my God, thank you. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure.
It's an honor.
Now, you do lots of things in the world of entertainment, and we'll get to that, but I want to know, where are you from, Molly Fite?
I am from Vancouver, Washington, which is right near Portland, Oregon. It's like 15 minutes away. We call it the Couve. And it's like, I never say Vancouver because people think I'm from Canada. So I always say I'm from near Portland.
Right. Because
it's way not as cool as Vancouver, Canada at all. It's just like a small Washington town. But we were in the Air Force. My family was in the Air Force. So we also I was born in Alabama. And then we lived in North Carolina and Illinois on an Air Force base. And then finally, my mom was like, I'm done moving. And my dad retired from the Air Force, and we stayed in Washington.
And what age were you when you finally settled down in Washington?
I was in third grade.
Third grade,
and my
okay.
brother was in fifth. Yeah. So I considered that my home.
Right.
Yeah.
And when did you start getting interested in entertainment as something that you might want to do?
I never, I was always loved to make people laugh. That was like always making my friends laugh and my family laugh. And then I started doing theater in high school and I loved it. And I was like, this is super fun. And then when I went to college, I was like, I kept doing theater and it was also fun, but I never really thought I would actually do it as a profession. Like I didn't think I could be a comedian. Mm-hmm. I always thought, so I always had like I also studied a bunch of other things like Italian and child psychology. And anyway, but I just kept doing it and I graduated at college. I moved to New York and I lived there for a couple of years and did like weird experimental theater. And I did UCB in New York. And now I'm like, I think it wasn't until I got into grad school for acting that I was like, oh, people think I'm awesome at this. And then I felt my confidence like really rose after I did that. So I was like, okay, now I'm really fucking doing it. Because before I think I was just enjoying my life.
Yeah.
And now.
Yeah, just jumping back really quick to high school and college. Do you have a favorite role that you played in either of those?
Let's see. I was Fabian in 12th Night in college, which is not a big part. But I was also, but that was really fun. And I was in The Maids. I was one of the maids in The Maids, Jean Genet, but I can't remember her name. In high school, I was like in the chorus, like in musicals, and I can't remember I honestly can't remember the play we did. That's sad. We did a ripoff of Grease called Rock and Roll, and it was literally just, we couldn't afford the rights to Grease, so it was a show called Rock and Roll, and I was just in the chorus.
Yeah.
But college is when I got bigger parts.
Yeah. You mentioned the Air Force. Were either of your parents or anybody else in your family like entertainer?
No, nobody is. My dad was a pilot in the Air Force and then a commercial pilot for United. And my mom was a teacher and mom. Yeah. And my brother is a lawyer. So that's kind of performance. But no one at all in my family. But my family they're really great storytellers. Mm-hmm. Like I think they're very funny people. Yeah. Like especially the women in my family, like my aunts are really funny and my cousins. So, but none of them are in entertainment. So if I make it, I made it on my own.
There you go. So you're in New York and you're doing the experimental theater.
Yes.
Is that where you started doing stand-up?
No, I didn't do stand-up till I moved to LA, till
Okay.
I was 29. So I started very late.
Okay.
So I haven't been doing it very long.
Okay.
Yeah.
So so in New York, were you doing other things beside the experimental theater, or just that's?
I did improv. I did UCB.
Oh,
I did
improv, okay.
But I was in like a weird experimental theater company called Theater Group Dzieci, which is Polish for children, and it was like drama therapy where we would like go sing at hospital beds, and it was all theater as sacred, like theater as like ritual. Here's a story that's a good story. We after rehearsal we would all bring food to share, but it was a silent meal and you had to like ask with your eyes. Like you couldn't be like, pass me that cucumber. Like you just have to ask. And we had a communal cup that we would drink out of. And then one day I woke up after drinking from that communal cup. I woke up and I projectile vomited like on myself. And I was like staying at a dorm above this theater in New York called La Mama, which is like a kind of a famous East Village theater. And I was like alone, vomited on myself, and I had to like take it to the dry cleaners. But after that, I was like, I'm not drinking out of that communal cup. And they were like, I felt like they were like, she's not really into.
She's not one of us.
Yeah, I felt like ousted.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, we did very like weird ceremonial things. And I eventually left the theater company in like a ceremony in like Union Square where it was like a silent walk. And then I was like, bye, gotta go.
You didn't projectile vomit on them as you left.
And then I threw up in their faces. That would have been cool. No, I felt they're still like fighting the good fight.
They're still drinking from that cup.
They're still drinking from that gross cup.
So after New York, was it New York? Then you came to LA?
Then I got into grad school at UC San Diego.
Okay.
So I moved and I lived in San Diego and got my MFA there. And that was awesome. It was like just doing back-to-back plays all the time. Clown class, mime, stage combat. It's like we did a year of Shakespeare. And then we also taught. I taught like public speaking and acting 101. And it was just like a fun time. But now I have a lot of debt.
Yeah.
I have like so much debt.
And San Diego's not a bad place to live for a couple years.
No.
Right?
La Jolla.
Yeah.
We were like, we could walk to the beach from campus.
Yeah.
We'd have like bonfires all the time. It was awesome. I miss San Diego. Like it's like a sleepy beach town compared to LA.
Yeah.
I had a really great apartment that was like subsidized. It was graduate housing, but we had like a pool and a gym. Those are the good old days.
When did writing start? Like writing things?
I started writing in New York because I was in. I also did stuff at the Ensemble Studio Theater in New York. I was in a writing lab, with the artistic director, who has since committed suicide. His name is Kurt Dempster, and so I was in his lab. It was called City Lab, and we would meet once a week and bring pages, and so I was writing theater pieces, and we would do like cabarets, and then I started in grad school. We would write off and on, like different like performance pieces. But then I started writing way more when I got to LA, and I was like, oh, I have to write things for myself.
Yeah.
Because there's no other way.
Right. And so you started doing stand-up out here.
Yes.
What inspired you to get up and start doing stand-up?
I saw, like, I'd always been afraid to do it. I always wanted to do it, but it was like the thing that I was most afraid to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like leaving it for last, I think. But then I saw my friend do a show. She took a class with this man, Jerry Katzman, who's a lovely man. And I saw her class show, and I was like, oh, it was such a difference. She was so confident.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, if Carrie can do it, I can do it. And then I took his class. That's how I started, was by taking his class.
Okay.
And then from there, and then I took it like 3 times just to always have accountability and to generate tons of material. But so that's how I started, and then just started doing mics and festivals. And
Yeah, I was really impressed because I've done stand-up for several years, but you have done way more festivals than I have just in the short time that I've known you. You've done, like, I think more festivals than I've ever done. How did you, you just I'm going to go do a festival? Like, is that, you just made the decision?
I just, from doing, so when I go home to Portland, I'll do shows in Portland, and they have their community is really small and friendly, and that's how I got into. They do 2 festivals. They do Bridgetown Comedy Festival, which is now becoming like super popular, or I mean, it was when I did it, which was like 2 years ago, and then they do an all women festival, and so I met the people who produce it doing shows in Portland, so that's how I got to do those. And then from doing like 1 or 2 festivals, you just meet. It's such a small world. You just meet other people. I did the Women in Comedy in Boston through a woman I met at Groundlings. She recommended me because she used to be a comic in Boston. And then I did one in Toronto called She Dot, which is all women, and I just blindly submitted. I didn't know anyone there. But yeah, I just am like, oh, where would I like to travel to? I've never been to Toronto. That would be awesome. So I'll just submit my tape and
see what happens.
Yeah, there's a bunch of festivals coming up. Like, I'm submitting to Bridgetown again because it's also a great excuse to see my family.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's one in there's a Cape Fear Comedy Festival, and I was like, that's also near my family in North Carolina, so it's like a good excuse. I want someone to start one in Savannah because I want to go there.
All right, get on that, everybody. Savannah, we're looking at you.
Savannah. There's also an awesome one in New Orleans I want to go to. There's so many now.
Yeah.
There's like a million.
Yeah. Do you have a set, touching back a little bit on the writing, do you have a set writing schedule? Like, do you, every day you're like, oh, I got to write this?
No, I wish I did.
Yeah.
But I have sketch meetings every week with my sketch team, so I try to write a sketch a week.
Yeah.
But it's mostly it's whenever I can squeeze in that time.
And do you guys perform those sketches? Like, do you go out and perform them?
Yes, we have a monthly show at IO. We're called It's the Cops, and we perform the second Sunday of every month.
Oh, cool.
And 9 p.m. $5 or free. Message me for comps, you guys. So that helps me keep a regular writing schedule.
Yeah.
Yeah. But sometimes I don't always write a sketch a week. Sometimes I'm like, I got nothing.
Yeah.
So that's helpful.
There's other stuff going on, and what life. And you and I met through the Henson Diversity Puppeteering Workshop. And what made you was that just another thing, I'm going to apply to this?
First of all, it was so much fun. It was the best time. And I saw it on Facebook. Mm-hmm. I was at jury duty on Facebook, and I don't know.
Not in the jury box.
Not in the box.
All right.
Although, I mean, I did everything to get out of jury duty. But I was on jury, and I saw someone post oh, here's a cool thing, and I submitted my headshot and resume, and literally thought I would never hear anything. And then they're like, you have an audition. And I was like, what? And then I went to the audition, and I thought it went well. But also I auditioned with Kevin Clash, and I didn't realize it was Kevin. It was someone who I thought he looked familiar. I thought he was like someone I knew from the theater world. I was like, oh, he's here.
I drank out of a cup with that man.
Yeah. I was like, we probably did an improv scene together. And Brian was there too, and I didn't realize that was Brian. And that is all for the best, because I would have been way more nervous.
Yeah.
I did recognize Patrick as a famous from Showgirls.
Right, of course.
But yeah, no, and then I got it, and honestly, I never get things. I never get things that I just auditioned for. And I was like shocked and like so proud of myself. I was like, you did that. And it was so much and we had the best time, I felt. Like just laughing with puppets for like 3 hours a week, and they fed us food. They fed us dinner. And Kevin was so generous. He extended our class. He got us all puppets. He was like the nicest man.
Yeah.
So sweet. Like the whole experience, I made a ton of I met so many funny, warm, generous people. And also the puppeteers I met were like, how can I help you? Like Raymond and all the people who came in from out of town. They're like people from Atlanta, Toronto, Chicago. Who were like seasoned puppeteers, and I'd never ever done any puppeteering before. And they were like, they would come to my house and tutor me. Grant, you tutored me a ton. Like they helped. I couldn't have done it without like everyone collectively helping, and that's unusual for like the acting world. People are like very.
Yeah, I want to make it. I'm not going to help anybody else do it.
They're very like not. They're very guarded. Like, I'm not going to share my secrets.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah, it was so fun. Everyone I met, I enjoy them so much. And it also like re-inspired me about improv, because sometimes you get in a rut where you hate improv just from watching it too much. But then doing it with puppets, it's a whole different fun thing. And you're not worrying about your own body. It's like, it re-inspired me. The whole program was inspiring, I would say.
Well, let me ask you this. So you're coming from a comedy background, not a puppetry background.
Yes.
That first time you put a puppet on your hand and got in front of a monitor, what was your brain doing?
I was really freaking out, because I was like, everything is backwards. And I was like, I'm horrible at this. I was like, I'm really bad at this. I got super stressed out. Yeah. I was like, these puppets are stressing me out. And I was like, this is going to take years for this to look good. But then but it took like a lot. It takes a lot of work. It's a lot harder than it looks. Mm-hmm. I would say that is completely. When you look at puppeteers on TV, it looks so easy. It is not easy.
Well, one thing that, I could just tell that you really wanted to do it. Like you were, it's like, because some people would come in and be like, this really isn't for me. I'm just going to go back to improv. And you seem like somebody who, you worked on it, and you worked on it as much as you could. And I mean, I certainly, I think I told you this, but that, video that the group did, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's Molly's puppet. Like I could just tell, you know what I mean? Like it was really great. So I think you really rose for something you've never done before. You really tackled it well.
Yeah, I was like, I cannot get cut from this. This is like a once in a lifetime thing. I was like, I have to put in the work. There's like no way I can. If I had gotten cut, you would have never seen my face again. I would have ghosted everyone.
But we won't give away any spoilers or anything.
Yes.
But now you said you're working on a show with puppets because of this experience?
Yes, I want to do a stand-up show. I want to call it When Puppets Are Your Only Friends. And it's like a comedy show with puppets a puppet show with comedy. So a mix of stand-up and puppetry, whatever that looks like. If people want to bring in videos, I'm hoping to do it at the Clubhouse on Vermont. Have you been there?
I haven't.
It's like a new improv space. It's a lot of experimental shows, and there's parking. Like that's, and you can also like bring your own wine and beer. It's nice. It's not. I just went to like a clown show there. They have everything, improv.
Yeah.
Everything. So I'm hoping to do it there, but I don't know when yet. And I'm hoping like Phoebe will help host, and I'll get some awesome comics and great. I'll ask you to puppeteer and maybe host as well.
Whatever you need. I'm there.
Yeah, and maybe also get comedians to do puppetry that have never done it.
Mm-hmm.
That could be cool.
Yeah. Who are some of your influences just in the entertainment world?
Let's see. Maria Bamford is my ultimate hero. Like, she's the person that I saw do comedy, and I was like, I can do comedy too. Like, and also she's the nicest person you'll ever meet. Mm-hmm. Like, I met her after her album recording, and I was like, I do comedy, and she was like, that's wonderful. And she wasn't like, oh, great.
Yeah.
She was just like, where do you go up? She was just totally wonderful. So she's a real person working now that I... But growing up, like Carol Burnett, I used to watch her show with my parents. And Annie, like I was obsessed with her and Annie. And then I love Molly Shannon, Superstar, like that movie I adore. All the people who were on SNL growing up, Molly Shannon, Will Ferrell, Amy and Tina, I love them. Kristen Wiig. Who else? I mean, Gilda. I love Gilda. I love Lily Tomlin. I saw her one woman show on Broadway.
Oh wow.
And I mean any old school woman comedian I pretty much adore. Lucille Ball. But right now Maria is my hero, my ultimate hero.
Mm-hmm. And who's somebody who people may not know about that like really inspires you or makes you laugh, that they can go look up or? Oh,
gosh, that's a good question. Comedy wise, who else is doing awesome? Oh, Kyle Mizzono. She's a very funny Asian American woman. I find her very funny. My friend Ian Carmel, who's from Portland, he's a writer on The Late Late Show, and he's just hilarious. Ron Funches, he's like blowing up. You don't need to look him up. He's already like on TV. Who else? My friends, they have a theater company. They do cool theater and weird spaces is their thing, and they've been doing it for like 5 years now and been successful, and that's inspiring that they're still plugging at it, because a lot of times people are like, why do theater in LA? Mm-hmm. But they still are like supporting playwrights, supporting actors, doing interesting things. So look them up. Chalk Repertory Theater.
Okay.
And they're all about diversity too. And they did a show. I did a show with them in a church. They've done a show, and like they do shows in like houses and different things. They were voted like LA Weekly's top like gypsy theater company. But other than that, my friends inspire me too, that are just like in LA working so hard, mm-hmm. year after year, just trying to do it.
Yeah. Well, and if people want to look you up, where can they go?
I'm on YouTube, Molly Fite. I'm on the Facebook. I'm on LinkedIn. But I'm on YouTube, and I also have like a comedy collective called Taste Funny. We've done a bunch of videos. But yeah, Molly Fite.
All right. Well, Molly Fite, thank you so much for talking to me today. I appreciate it.
Oh my God, thank you.
Molly Fite was today's guest on 15 Minutes With here on the GrantCast. You can see examples of Molly's work on YouTube at youtube.com/Molly Fite. That's youtube.com/MOLLYFITE. You can also follow her on Twitter or Instagram, where she's under the username MooFite. That's MOOFITE. Big thanks to Molly for being on the show today. 15 Minutes with On the GrantCast is a production of Saturday Morning Media and is made possible in part by the Saturday Morning Media Patreon patrons who've gone to www.patreon.com/Saturday Morning Media and set up a monthly donation for as little as $1 a month. Huge thanks to Shay Stewart, Merle Lafferty, Jeff Peterson, Dale Gadania, Stephen Staver, Jackie Klimo, Melissa Crawford, Chuck, Matthew Wayne Selznick, Dave Slusher, Michael Coughlin, Dorothy Baciocco, John D., Kathy Crawford, Brian Greer, Carrie Whitney, Chuck Tomasi, Chris Foster, Stephen Ing, Clinton of ComedyForecast.com, Vicky DeVries, and Mike Wabshall. If you'd like to support the show and the other fun content from Saturday Morning Media, become a patron. Head on over to www.patreon.com/Saturday Morning Media. That's www.patreon.com/Saturday Morning Media and set up your donation today. Or tell a friend about the show, or you can leave us a review on iTunes. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll be back soon with another episode of The GrantCast. The GrantCast is copyright 2016 Saturday Morning Media, Grant Baciocco, executive producer. All rights reserved. www.SaturdayMorningMedia.com.